Hey, this is Joe from Home Studio Corner. Depending on where you are on your musical journey, recording to a plain old click track sound might be really challenging. In my opinion, the goal is to get to a point where even a boring click like that can be inspiring to you, and you can play along to that in a musical way. But in the meantime, to give you something more musical to play along to, I recommend using some sort of a MIDI loop. Specifically, creating your own very simple MIDI loop to use in your sessions. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Inside of Studio One, I've added an instrument channel with this Impact XT virtual instrument. This is just a drum pad. I've selected a drum kit that sounds pretty simple and organic like a regular drum kit. That'll work. Next, I'm going to double click here in this first bar, and it just creates an empty MIDI event. And if I double click again, we can now see our MIDI editor down here, but I'm going to do one better. If you're a Studio One user, here's a quick tip. If you right click on a part like that, you can actually convert it to a pattern. So a part is just MIDI notes, but a pattern opens up this cool step sequencer, which makes it really easy to create some loops very quickly. All right, so I want this, there's a couple of stages to this. You can go as far as you want, but the key here, the most important thing is don't create a really groovy click sound, drum loop that matches your song. Instead, I would encourage you to create as simple of a loop as you can, and then you as the musician insert the groove. We're not trying to replace a real drum part here. We want a very simple groove. I found that when I do a lot of live looping stuff, which I've been doing more and more, the simpler I make the drum part, the boom, and then I can add syncopation and cool rhythmic stuff with other tracks, it ends up grooving even more. So I would give you kind of 3 steps to build out your groove. The first, and you might just be able to get away with this, is to just insert a 4 on the floor kick drum, which in 4/4, that means the kick drum is hitting every quarter note. So it sounds very much like a click track you're used to, except we're using a kick instead of that sound. Now that's the kind of sound that's we'd be a lot more comfortable playing along to that. Right now I'm hearing, was that White Stripes song, I think. It instantly feels a little more musical than the alternative, which of course is this. Right? So that feels a little bit better. However, if you need a little more subdivisions, say that 4 on the floor isn't giving you enough timing information, the next step that I would do is I would add in snares on the 2 and 4. This is not rocket science, it's just basic rhythm. That grooves a little bit more, but it's very straight. It's just right on the beat. And if from there you still need some more subdivisions, that didn't really give you any subdivisions, just gave you a 2 and a 4 to kind of know where you are in the bar, then add in a closed hi-hat on every 8th note. That hi-hat is a little loud, so I'm going to come in here and turn it down. And there's our very simple groove. I would not go any further than that. You can take this and then you can add your pushes and your syncopation and whatever else you need to add on top of this. You can record your drums on top of this and play all the fills and the cool parts that you want. But this is like the backbone, simple tempo, but it feels a lot more musical. Okay, so why do this? It seems so ridiculously obvious, but maybe you hadn't thought about doing this instead of a standard click track. The first is this is a lot faster than sorting through a whole folder full of different drum loops to try to find the one that fits your song. To me, that ends up being just a wild goose chase where you find a loop that's close, then you change the groove of the song to fit the loop, instead of the other way around, which I think is a shame. Let the song be what it needs to be. Something like this, a very simple drum loop, allows me to play whatever I want over the top, and it works. Second big reason why this is cool is I can decide in the middle of this, you know what, that tempo's not right. Let's bump it up 5 BPM. And since it's all MIDI, it'll just follow. I don't have to go find another loop. I don't have to stretch anything. It just automatically moves and follows the tempo. Now you can make this simple little instrument track a part of your recording template. Just be sure to stretch this out to whatever the length of the song is, and now you've got a much cooler and more fun to play along with click track. By the way, I know I talk a lot about mixing here on this channel, but I love recording and producing probably even more than I love mixing, which is bonkers because I really love mixing. If you haven't checked out my recording cheat sheet yet, it's a cool guide where I just share with you a bunch of little tips to help you get better recordings, which, as you probably have guessed, will help you get better mixes as well. You can check that out at recordingcheatsheet.com. See ya.